from the beginning, she's like, you know what? I'm really great in bed. Like, trust me, I can save humanity if you let me give you a blowjob. And she almost did there.
Welcome back to another episode of Romancing the Monsters. I'm S.
I'm Seff.
And today we're going to be discussing Famine, the third book in the Four Horsemen series by Laura Thalassa. Famine.
Yeah, I'll just get into it, what it's about. I'll just tell you guys, because, I mean, hopefully you would know what it's about if you're joining in on this episode. But anyways, Famine basically starts off with our girl Anna, who hears of Famine's arrival in her city, and so her pimp. What's the female version of that? Her mistress?
Mistress, I think it would be.
Anyways, Anna is a prostitute, and her mistress decides that she's going to offer Anna up to Famine as a gift, because he collects a lot of gifts, and then if he deems it worthy, he still kills you. But if he doesn't deem it worthy, he kills you very brutally. Mm-hmm. Anyways.
You die no matter what.
Sorry, what?
You die no matter what.
Yeah. It just depends, I guess, on how you die. I don't know. Anyways, Anna always assumed she'd die young, so she never really expected that, she'd be there to see Famine again, which she had experienced him when she was 17 years old, but now she's 20, I think it's 5 years later, so now she's 22. And he spared her life 5 years ago, and he razed her city to the ground, but left her alive, and yeah, she's faced with him again, and he doesn't recognize her, and so he decides to just send her away because he refuses the gift of, human flesh. He's like, why do you think I'd want to have sex with a human? Like, disgusting, ew. Mm. So she's taken to where, the rejected gift givers are, and she gets stabbed numerous times and is thrown into a hole to die. But then all of a sudden something happens and someone whispers in her ear to live, and she crawls herself out of this hole, and she's like literally dying. Like, she still has the stab wounds on her, and like Famine's gone and everyone's dying that she knew in this this city. And so she makes it her mission to get revenge on Famine, and when she's all healed up, she basically chases him. And he literally still does not remember her as she tries to kill him. But then something clicks off in his head, and he starts to remember who she is. And she was the one human that saved him when he asked for help. And basically what happens is they have this push and pull at this point. Anna wants to kill him, but then Famine's like, no, you're my woman. Like, I know my brothers have this woman, you're mine. Mm-hmm. And he tries really hard not to fall for her. Like, he more so just keeps her around because he can't be without her in a way. Yeah. He doesn't want to feel anything human. He very much despises humanity because of his own torture he experienced by the hands of humans, and in spite of themselves, they end up being drawn to one another, and they're enemies at the end of the day. But does that change anything? I don't know. We gotta see.
We gotta discuss.
So, S, how did you feel about this book? Did you like it? Did you not like it?
So, for me, I feel like this book was one of the easiest ones for me to get into. I was hooked from start to finish. I found any opportunity to stop and listen to my audiobook.
Yeah.
So I freaking loved it. And I didn't think, going into this book, I didn't think I was going to love it. I didn't think it was going to top pestilence or war. But I don't know. That's what I kept thinking. Like, for some reason, like, it's probably just the fact that it's like one of the middle books. And I didn't think it was going to top war for some reason.
Oh, yeah.
But no, I feel like it surpassed the first two books for me. And I think it just has to do with Anna and with Famine and just the way they were. I feel like Anna was a freaking badass. She was brave. She was very compassionate. And that's not to say like the other girls weren't. They were compassionate. They were brave in their own right. But there was just something about Anna that felt different and more genuine, I guess you can say. And she endured a lot of freaking pain, so I felt for her a lot.
Yeah.
And then just the fact that she helped Famine, and then he ended up killing her, and then she ended up coming back to life, and the fact that she's like, I'm gonna get my revenge. I was like, yes, girl, like, go get him, go kill him. And then
No, that first scene was so like tough to read about because you're reading her getting stabbed numerous times and then thrown into a ditch.
It was very gruesome. Like I didn't expect that type of killing with this book, to be honest. I expected more just a Famine starving everybody.
Yeah.
Right?
Or like killing crops or something,
yeah.
You know? Like I didn't expect this like maliciousness or like cruelty from him.
Yeah.
But I mean, it comes with a story,
yeah,
right?
It does. And for Famine, I just loved how unapologetically ruthless he was. He also endured a lot of pain, and I felt for him a lot. But I felt for something about him. I felt like he felt more romantic than the others, right?
I think so too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was more romantic. He was kinky and funny as well.
Girl, those lines.
Yes.
I was not prepared. And that was the scene when I was, okay, so basically I was reading and then I tweeted because my mom was talking to me. This was a tweet that I sent out when I was like, my mom is trying to talk to me as I'm trying to read Spicy Times. It was that scene with the vines and I was like, Mother! I was waiting the whole book for that because this one's so slow burn that I was like, I need something. And then finally something happened between them. And then
your mom wants to start a conversation and talk to you in the middle of it.
About gold found in Guyana. So.
Oh, God. But yeah, all this to say, just I loved it. Yeah. What about you, Seff?
Yeah. No, I'm in the same boat with you. For some reason, I didn't think I was gonna like this one because I think it was more so like the general favorite of everyone. Like everyone seemed to really enjoy this one, and they felt the same way about Pestilence. And Pestilence was not a favorite of mine. I thought it was like okay, but it wasn't like my favorite. I thought War, in my perspective or my opinion, was a lot better than Pestilence, but that was like generally hated by everyone. Not everyone, but like a majority of the people. So I didn't really know what to expect with Famine. So going in, it starts off, like I said, with that scene, and I'm like, holy shit, where does it go from here? Like, how does she come out of this? How does he come back from this? Yeah. So, like, I don't know. I was just, like, really genuinely intrigued that, like you said, I couldn't put it down either. I remember staying up until, like, 4 a.m., and I had work the next morning, and I'm like,
oh, my God.
Yeah. So, I enjoyed it. I thought the writing was good, and the characters, like you said, I feel like they felt different. Like, they felt like, I don't know, I felt like this was Laura Thalassa's favorite set of characters in a way, because of how real they felt. Like you said, Anna, she was such a great character, and she was such a badass character. Yeah. She was very, like, unapologetic of who she was. She was a prostitute, yes. She didn't choose that. She had no other options left. But, like, she didn't, like, feel shame for what she did because it was just, like, literally either dying or choosing that. And so she wasn't ashamed of her choices, and I love that. And I also felt like she was so amazing in the sense where, like, she saw the worst in humanity because of her job, and she was kind of the first heroine. And this is where I think the difference is. She's the first heroine in the series that tells the horseman that it feels like there's something fundamentally wrong with human nature, and I don't understand why we can be so hateful to one another. And she actually understands that humanity is bad. Like, humans have reached the point where they're bad. Yeah. And we're so used to the heroines trying to save humanity or, like, try to sacrifice their life to save humanity. But in this case, she's like, maybe you got some rights. Yeah. Maybe you're right. Maybe we do deserve to die. I don't know. Yeah.
Agree.
And again, like Famine, I loved his character. I loved his character growth. And he was just so sexy and so hot and just so like, he was so funny too.
Yeah.
Like, and his psychoness was like, just the right amount.
Yeah.
Loved it.
Yeah, agreed. When he would call her my flower, there's something about that nickname that I freaking love.
Yeah, and like, because like then you realize, because his power is to destroy, but then like later on he notes, or she notes, that he also can create.
Mm-hmm.
He's been creating a flower for her from the get-go.
Yeah.
Like, he's been creating because of her, and I just loved it. And I think he also felt different from the other guys, because he had like a personal vendetta against humans because of how much they tortured him for how long. And like, I don't know, I just felt like he was different. He was like, it wasn't that he was more human. I don't know where it is. It's just, I don't know. I just think his character was just so unique in terms of this world that I just really, really enjoyed.
Yeah. And I thought it was going to be like repetitive, like, you know, they awaken, they have to kill humanity.
Yeah.
And I think that was one of my issues. Like, it's going to be the same thing as the first two. So I don't see how he can, you know, be unique, I guess you can say.
Yeah.
But
no, I agree with that. I was kind of worried that we'd fall, you know, into that pattern as well, with it being similar. But I think it's safe to say all the books, because spoiler, I've read all of them, they all kind of bring something different or unique to the table. And I don't know, I feel like this one was the most different though.
Yeah, agreed.
I feel like we talk about Famine's treatment from the humans, but like, let's actually talk about it. So basically, do you want to talk about what happened to him?
So when he, so correct me if I miss anything, or if I'm wrong, but he awakens and he was taken in by a family, and they showed him kindness even though they seemed like they were scared of him. But he let his guard down for a little bit while he was living with them, and I believe he ends up going somewhere, and then he comes back and he notices that the family is dead. Like, they're slaughtered. Yeah. They're killed, and then he ends up getting captured, and he's tortured for, I want to say, a couple years, right?
I don't know.
Was that the instance where he was captured, and then that's when Anna just finds him a couple years later?
No. Anna finds him, like, when he escapes. So, like, he's missing limbs and everything. Like, he literally crawled out and, like, was found by Anna.
But that was the instance, wasn't it? Wasn't that him being captured?
Yeah, so then it was a few years then, because I might have missed that. It could have been.
I think it's a few years. Maybe, like, 2-3 years that he was captured. At least that's what I'm assuming, I think.
Yeah.
And, yeah, he was tortured. He hints that he was abused as well. And that's why he goes on a rampage and starts killing people without any remorse,
Yeah.
Damn. My poor guy.
It was pretty brutal.
It was.
I know we didn't get, like, a full recounting of what happened, but like he said, he was, like you said, he was abused physically, probably emotionally. They cut off his limbs numerous times. Like, I'm not going to go into detail, but it sounded pretty brutal of what happened. And, like, that was kind of his first exposure to humanity. Like, he had the family, sure, like, they were nice, they were kind, and he even said he was going to spare them. But then he comes across this group of humans, and it's like the whole town is a part of this. Like, there are women, there's like men. I don't know if there's children involved or whatever, but like literally this whole town comes to torture this man for days or even years in this case. And like, imagine the hatred or like the fear you would would develop towards this group of people.
Yeah.
And of course, like, you don't paint everyone with the same brush, but in this case, he suffered so much from humans that, like, why would he believe that they're any different?
Yeah.
It was so sad. But he also, like, when he, I don't know why. I just, like, the fact that, like, the pleasure he found from killing people, it wasn't hot. It wasn't hot. It cannot be hot. But, like, just the way he went about it and, like, how smug he was about it. Loved it. But anyway, how did you feel about their meeting again when he he basically doesn't let her kill him. And she becomes his captor. How did you feel? Obviously, we knew it was going to happen, but, like, how did you feel the way it played out?
I think, from what I remember, I mean, I liked it, I guess.
Yeah.
What did you think about their...
I loved it because she came prepared. She's like, okay, got my weapons. But then, like, she physically could not kill him. Like, she just, like, she couldn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, I don't know. I just, like... I think his character is so interesting because he did remember her, and he also... So basically what happens is it cuts to, like, their meeting, and, like, their first meeting 5 years ago, before, like, we actually see her not be able to kill him.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought it was refreshing in a way to see her as the heroine, because in the series they're usually, like, afraid, or, like, they actually try to kill them the first time they meet. And in this case, it wasn't the case. Anna saved him and, like, even tried to give him water. And, like, I would be deathly afraid, but she even tried to, like, you know, get warmth from his body.
Yeah, she snuggled him, huh?
Yeah. And I'm like, girl, he could kill you in 2 seconds.
It just goes to show, like, how Anna... And I don't want to compare it, but, like, with, like, how you said, like, I believe Sarah was the one that she actually killed him. She killed Pestilence. And with Anna, she saved him, and then in their second meeting, she tried killing him, but she couldn't.
Yeah. And think about it. Like, Anna would have known of Pestilence and of war, and she knows the horseman. Like, she knows the third one is coming, and she faces him. And she knows all the horrors that the previous horsemen have inflicted upon humanity, but then... she knows that, and she still decides to help him. So, like, despite of everything, she's like, I'll help him.
Yeah.
And I just think that's, like, it just speaks of who she was when she was a child. At 17 years old, she was still, like, filled with these hopes and, like, belief that, you know, he could be something good. Maybe he's not bad, you know? I don't know. And then, like, jump to 5 years later, and she's so jaded and so, you know, hurt by the world. It's just, like, it's really sad to, like, see the difference. Like, it was so in your face because the flashback happened right when she's, like, trying to kill him.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah.
But even though she... Like, I just kept thinking back of the fact that it's later on explained in the book where she was tortured by her aunt, and she still cried and got mad at the fact that he killed her family and her town.
Yeah. But it was awful. But, like, I don't know. Imagine being in her shoes. Her parents died. Her only family was her aunt, her cousins, and, like, I think her uncle. Mm-hmm. And, like, her only family abused her viciously. She has, like, welt marks on her back. But, like you said, she still was sad to see them die.
She's too...
I don't know. I just feel like...
too precious, too pure for that world.
Yeah, and, like, it's just sad to see that, like, she wanted to belong to something or someone so desperately that she would take the abuse over, you know, maybe finding something that's a bit more healthier. I just thought it was, like, really sad to read about. And, like, even Famine was angry on her behalf. He wanted to, like, resurrect them to kill them
again. Do you think if Anna would have gone with Famine the first time, do you think things would have played out differently?
I don't know. It's hard to say. Because, like, we can't also forget, she's only 17. She seemed like she was very innocent and, like, very sheltered as a girl. That, like, maybe he needed to meet her again 5 years later where she's seen, like, the worst of humanity. Mm-hmm. And she's become stronger because of what happened to her. That maybe Sarah in 5 years... Not Sarah, why am I saying Sarah? Anna... in 5 years was his true match. I don't know if 17-year-old Anna would have been strong enough to endure all that.
Yeah,
I
agree.
What about you?
No, I agree. I think it would have ended badly where she probably would have died, like, early on. If she would have gone with him the first time. Yeah. So I feel like she did, which is horrible, but I feel like she did need to see the horrors of the world and maybe what she endured, and
her life sucked. Like, I know it's because of her situation, she had to become a prostitute. But like, because of that, like, she found friends and she had a found family and the other girls that worked there.
Yeah.
But at the same time, she had all these clients. She like basically talked about being raped by like being physically abused by her clients, and it's just like. And then she also fell in love with this guy that chose to marry someone else because his family would disown him. And, like, she just kept going. Like, how do you keep going despite everything?
Yeah, no, she was very strong. I don't think I would have been able to endure all that. Hell no. Yeah. So I kind of want to ask you about, you mentioned it when you were talking about the description of the book where she's killed, she's stabbed, and she's thrown into, like, the hole. And then she ends up dreaming or she has a dream or a vision where she sees, I think it's Famine in a field, right? Mm-hmm. And he's killing, or he's killing the crops or something like that, and there's a figure. Is it that scene? Or maybe it's not.
I think she talks about like that scene.
I think that's a different scene, I think. But basically what I want to talk about is the voice that she hears where the voice tells her to live. Do you think that was death?
That's my question too. I don't know. And spoiler, death, the book doesn't even clarify that.
It doesn't.
So that's why I'm like, I don't know who said it. I don't know.
I think it was death. But then it kind of makes me think, like, if it was him, why would he go through the trouble to waking her up?
Yeah.
It makes me feel like he had his own agenda to kind of to test Famine to see how far he would go.
Yeah. But then for me, it's just like thinking about where death was in terms of like his mentality and like war per se. He was very much like not team Miriam and war. He was more so like, I'll let her live because, you're giving up your immortality. In this case, he doesn't know Anna. He doesn't know really like what she means to Famine. So I don't know if it was just like he chose to spare her life because of what she could mean to Famine. But then, spoiler, by the end of it, he's more so like, no, you can't give up your purpose.
See, that's what pisses me off. Because...
Yeah, so that's why I don't know. I don't know. And I kind of wish it was clarified. And maybe it was. I just didn't pay attention to it. But I don't know who said it.
I'm going to choose to believe it was death and he had like his own agenda.
Yeah. Unless it was like God in a way. I don't know. I would like to know, Laura Thalassa. If I missed it, if I'm like a really bad reader and I missed it, please let me know. But I would really like to know who said that to her.
Or even if any of the readers pick something up, any listeners.
Yeah.
Let us know.
I know. I would really like to know. Speaking of the other horsemen. Oh my gosh, I can't speak. Horsemen. Speaking of the other horsemen, that being war, pestilence, and death, and also famine. Famine says right off the get-go that he's different than his brothers because like their powers are different. Like they're more so like in tune with humans and their life, whereas he is very much like on the outside, and he is not like he's the least connected to human life. So that being said, he's already different than the others, and he doesn't look at humans the same way. How'd you feel about that when he said that? Like, how were you expecting their romance to unfold then if he doesn't even regard her as like something,
Well, see, that didn't cross my mind when I was reading, but thinking about it now, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I feel like he was a very interesting character because of that, and because he made sure to note that he was not like his brothers. And he wasn't. He actually enjoyed killing people. He revels in their pain and like actually crushing them. Like crushing their bones. He like enjoys it. He smiles darkly when he sees it. And obviously it was because of his past, but like I don't know. I just felt like he was so different because he was not as in tune with humanity or his own humanity at that point, like his brothers were. And again, when he faces Anna, he honestly tries to fight it. He really tries to fight the emotions that he's starting to feel and like that's starting to grow in him as his humanity is getting developed. And like he pushes her away. He honestly, for like so long of the book, he pushes this girl away, and I'm like, I'm dying for like a hand touch, a little graze of the fingertip. I'm literally asking for nothing.
Do you think that's why we like him a little bit more than the other ones? Because he's not so, he's more attuned with like the earth, and then getting to see him become human and have feelings for Sarah. Anna. Why am I saying Sarah now?
Sarah's Pestilence's girl.
Oh God, we're a mess. Anna.
No, and I think that's really it. Like Famine's journey to humanity, it was so like strong in this book, and I felt like it wasn't obviously like it was the main focus of the story because of how like where he started from. Like we said, he was not human. He didn't try to be human. He didn't want to be human. He didn't want to understand humanity. And then he faces Anna, like we said. He starts actually seeing her as a person. And before that, he didn't even regard her as anything. She was just a captive, and that was it. But he felt like this connection with her because she saved him, and that was it. But then later on, when he starts to realize that she is kind of, she means something to him. Yeah. And he reflects back on their first meeting 5 years later. And he regards, is it Elvira? Who was her mistress? Like the one that basically gave her out, that ran the brothel. Her he basically tells her, as she's recounting her own events, is that you can't give someone away like they're a sack of flour or a candlestick. You are a person.
Yeah.
And that line resonated in the sense where, like, she stopped seeing herself as a person and more as like a product, or like not something that, she didn't see see herself as a person anymore. Yeah. And that really broke my heart. And it took Famine to tell her that.
And I love the fact that he was the one that told her that and realized. I feel like that was when he opened up and chose to be more human, or he started to develop more human feelings, more compassion and
empathy.
There you go. Yeah.
To be honest, it really hurt because, like, I don't know, for some reason this book made me emotional because of Anna's character and because of how she viewed herself. And then, like, I love also that this book gave Famine's perspective throughout the story as well. And when she started tearing up during their first sex scene, I know I'm getting too ahead of myself. Like, I just felt like it broke my heart because she's never really felt like she belonged somewhere. Yeah. And she never even saw, like, herself as an individual anymore up until, like, later on with Famine, and they start to, like, pursue what's between them. And then she actually finds a sense of belonging and, like, I don't know. She just, like, crushes my soul because she stopped seeing herself as a person for so long.
And I love the fact that she knew that she was falling for him, and she tried to fight it, and, like, he sensed something was wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. And he's like, I'll find out. I'll know what it is.
Yeah. Oh, I love them.
I know. But speaking of... Are we still talking about his journey to humanity? Because then I feel like we're going to get to the end, and then...
Can we... I have a question. Let's go back. So, do you remember where there was a scene where there was a father that came in and he wanted to give his daughter up?
Yeah.
And then he ended up keeping the daughter and he locked her in a room. Do you remember what happened to her?
She died.
Did he kill her?
He killed her. I believe he did kill her because it was more so implied, and then Anna was like, okay, so he did kill her. Because she was asking what happened, and she died. I'm pretty sure she died.
Oh, okay. Because I was thinking back,
but
I was
let's talk about that scene.
Okay.
Sorry, what?
No. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, like, just think about the desperation that man felt. His daughter was a child.
Yeah.
And he was like, take my daughter, please. Like, if this is going to save humanity, take her. This is the only thing of value I have. And I know she was a person, but like just imagine the desperation he felt. He had no money, had no food, basically didn't really have clothes.
Yeah.
And then he's like, here's my daughter. And Anna saw that and she's like, I know this man has nothing, but he's giving her away.
Yeah.
Like his daughter.
I don't know. I feel like that was horrible. I feel like, I don't know, if I was in a man's shoes, I'd be like, okay, this is our time. I wouldn't want to give up any family members. Like if I didn't own anything or have anything left, I'd be like, okay, this is it. This is our time. And
no, honestly, that
it's just sad that he felt he needed to give her up.
You would give away your last few hours with your child. I mean, he did think it was going to save humanity, but like at what cost? Your daughter was a child and you were giving her up to what? Be, at the like what? Like you were just going to give her up to have sex with Famine to save humanity? Okay, fine. If it happened, it happened. But at this, I don't know.
Do you think maybe the reason why Famine did these things, like have people come and give things up, like was to see what they would give up? How far they would go? How desperate they would be? Or no?
I don't know. He never really went into detail why he did that, but I also feel like that's a really good thing. Like, that's a good point. Maybe he did give up. Sorry, he wanted to see what they would give up and, like, the extent of how far they would go.
And this man, and this man went as far as to give up his own daughter, young daughter.
Yeah, because Famine, I think maybe he wasn't able to name it, but maybe he did feel a lot of fear towards the humans that tortured him, and maybe he wanted to inflict the same fear on the humans around him, and maybe this is one way to do it. And it's also like a false sense of hope too. He wanted to like crush them.
Yeah.
Give them a sense of hope that if you gift me something, I might spare you. But I won't. He never does spare anyone besides Anna. And even then, he didn't spare her. He let her die in a ditch. But it did torture him later on once he saw her wound.
Yeah.
He was like, oh my gosh.
And then when he would kiss her and like he apologized.
Yeah.
And the way he confessed everything. Okay. Should we talk about... I kind of want to talk about their sex scene, but...
Okay, wait. Before we get there, I also... In that same scene... My girl Anna decides to, let her confidence come out to play. And my girl literally goes and sits on Famine's lap.
Yeah.
And he was like, what the hell's going on? And she starts like, like really sitting on his lap. And he like holds her close. And I was like...
That was torture, right? Going, reading that and then not getting much. Until this
book, sexual tension was so palpable and just so strong. Like I honestly,
it really was.
I couldn't stop reading this book.
Yeah.
But
same. Yeah. Well, before we go into that sex scene, because it happened, I think a little bit before. Do you remember when when Famine mentions that Anna speaks? She spoke an angelic word. And I guess the word meant forgiveness. Do you remember that?
Wasn't it?
I don't know. She was asleep and that she ends up speaking.
Oh, yeah.
Do they end up explaining that in death? Like, how was she able to say that word?
I think it was just like, God put these women on this earth for these men, like these horsemen, and like maybe, God imparted something in them that would resonate, with their horsemen.
Okay, so, I can see that.
Yeah.
Because I thought that was interesting that she was able to speak or say an angelic word, and it kind of made me think that maybe there was something like that in war or in pestilence.
They both had words. I don't remember what pestilence or wars.
Or wars. I think, was Miriam the one that had something on her? Like some type of mark?
Yeah, she had like the hand of God, like the mark of God on her. Like, I think it was, or like his mark or something. All I know, she was touched by God and she carried a mark on her. And Sarah, I think he was going to kill her, pestilence, but then he like felt God's presence or something and he couldn't kill her. but she also, I think, had a word. I don't remember what it was.
So they were all meant to be then. So this is all.
Yeah, they all were. And even, hello, Death. She is unable to die. Are you kidding?
She's unable to die?
Did you not read the synopsis?
No.
Oh, sorry. Spoiler.
I rarely read synopsis, you guys.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Where do you want to go? You want to talk about the sex? Let's talk about sex. Let's talk about sex. Let's go. That was so lame. Anyways.
Let's talk about
where
their
do you want
first.
to start? I feel like
their
first kiss, I think, was really important. And that being when she goes up to kiss him, and then he kisses her back, but he's like, don't ever do that again. Why do you think he did that? Why do you think he was like, I'm not at all liking this? But he was secretly liking it.
Just the fact that he just didn't trust humans. He couldn't trust her. And maybe he thought that she's playing she tried to kill him.
Yeah.
And maybe it's just the fact that he couldn't trust her. He didn't want to let his guard down around her, I feel like.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think?
And also, and I also don't think he wanted to feel anything for her in terms of romance or any sort of vulnerability with her. Like you said, because of his past.
Mm-hmm.
But let's talk about the scene that I think we all want to talk about, and this is the one that my mom interrupted me, sadly. So basically, they reach this point where they can't, keep their hands off of each other,
mm-hmm.
and so they end up outside, and he ends up, using the vines, because my guy also can, manipulate plants and grow plants, and also, use them.
Mm-hmm.
So he decides to use them to keep her hands away from him as he goes down on her.
Yes. I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting him to take her to the bedroom, but he takes her out to the earth and places her on the ground.
But isn't that so Famine, though? It just makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
He's one with the earth. Move aside, Mother Nature. It's all about Famine right now.
I love it. No, that scene was really hot.
I loved that scene, and I love that she even tried to warn him. She's like, I've had an interesting past. It's not a past that many women have. I might have diseases. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And then Famine's like, I'm immortal, and I won't
catch diseases.
I won't human diseases. And he literally goes to town on her.
I love it. I love the fact that he didn't care. Okay, what?
What happens after?
And then she goes down on him.
And he literally sees stars. And he tells her to have mercy.
Yes.
I lost it. When that man was literally dying, and then she is continuing to do her thing, and fingers go into places that
I wasn't expecting that. He's like,
I was not expecting that.
What type of witchcraft is this? Or something like that, he said.
And he was gone. And that scene was so, I loved it. She lived up to her big mouth,
Yeah.
She really, from the beginning, she's like, you know what? I'm really great in bed. Trust me, I can save humanity if you let me give you a blowjob. And she almost did there.
I love the fact that throughout the book, where she just kept bringing up oh, I can give you this, I can pleasure you like this, and you said, she lived up to her. She made him see stars, and he asked for mercy. I love it. It was great. And then from there, is that the scene where he sees her scars? Right after that,
yes, yeah,
where she has a bunch of lashes on her back that her aunt gave her.
Yeah.
Yeah, that scene broke my heart, and just the fact that he was very, I don't know how to say it, mad for her. Mm-hmm. And he showed he really does care about her.
Yeah. No, and I honestly feel like that scene is so monumental in terms of the shift in the relationship, mm-hmm. because he honestly, felt like it was his fault. He knew it was his fault. And I think it was his most human moment when he actually decides to apologize to her. And he really, I have the quote here. He's like, okay, so his mouth pauses at the scars on my stomach, the ones his men gave me. Forgive me, he says softly. I almost miss it. I swallow. I hadn't thought the horseman would regret any action of his. My eyes find his. It's in the past. He sits up a little, placing a hand on my scars, even as he searches my face. I think you're remarkably brave, he says, and your compassion is uncommon and admirable. I owe you my life twice over, and that is no little thing. And for what it's worth, you're also pretty, excessively so.
Aww. I love him.
I love him too. And I just feel like the fact that he actually apologized. I know it's the bare minimum here, but it's coming from Famine.
Yeah. And thinking back, like, do any of the guys have moments like these with their girls?
Have what?
Do any of the other guys have moments like these with...
I think they do, but like, I don't know. For me, it's just different with Famine because of where he started.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he was such a broken man. Like, not even a man, a broken being. I don't know.
Yeah.
That, like, for him to come full circle and actually apologize about, like, you know, what his actions caused.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, the scars. And I love that, like, the scars stayed on her body. So every day he sees what he did to her.
Yeah.
I just, like, I love it. And I love that he actually apologized. And also called her beautiful. Because he kept saying that she was not at all beautiful.
Yeah.
Or pretty, because he's not human. He doesn't see things that way.
He doesn't give compliments.
Yeah.
Oh, I freaking love him.
I love him too. Okay, and now comes the scene that I think was really, really great. And that scene was they took a break, and they ended up in a house. And sadly, they get he went away to, we don't know for what, but later on you realize this, to gather supplies.
Mm-hmm.
And she gets attacked by raiders, and she gets cut on the throat with a rusty, dirty knife, and they think it's fine. And she's like, it's fine, I'm fine. It's not even a deep cut, we're fine. And then they finally fuck.
Yeah.
As she's bleeding. How did you feel about their sex scene?
I didn't think that was going to happen. I wasn't expecting her to, like, basically die after or on the verge of death after they had sex. But I mean, it just goes to show, like, how strong Anna is. She's over here dying, but she's willing to have sex, and
she just really wanted that dick.
She really did.
She really wanted it. At the cost of her life, she wanted it.
Yeah.
Loved it.
I can't blame her. Yeah.
Yeah, and honestly, their sex scene was hot, and it was everything I could have wanted. They're literally doing it on, like, this dusty old rug, not even a rug, a blanket he brought. Like, it's just, like, not the best romantic situation, but, like, the way that it happened was great. But then, like you said, the morning she woke up, she was literally on death's door, and her wound was infected, and they didn't know what to do. And he honestly did not know what to do because he's never encountered this before.
Mm-hmm.
And he takes her to this house where they find a doctor, and the doctor is like, she's gonna die.
Yeah.
She's just gonna die. There's nothing we can do for her. We don't have the medicine, the right equipment to take care of her. And then the doctor basically turns around and tells him, it's your fault. It's you and your brother's fault. That's why we can't save her, because they came to Earth, destroyed all the technology and, like, any advancements that humanity has made. And that's when he kind of feels the weight of, like, what happened. Yeah. Yeah. And then how did you feel about that scene and then what he did after? So, which you can explain.
Yeah. So she's about to die. He's desperate. He's begging for them to save her. And then he just comes to the realization that he's able to, I guess, bring her back.
Yeah.
Or he's able to...
what was it again? He can kill any, like, human life in a way. Like, he can manipulate it.
And... Right? Yeah.
Yeah. He brings her back because of like his powers and like his ability to create like rather than destroy.
Yeah. And he ends up bringing her back. He ends up, I don't know, what does he do? He goes outside and he like touches the earth, and does he pray?
Well, he basically waits and like he does it, and then but as he's like, trying to bring her back, like one of my favorite lines that he's ever said to her is, okay, he's like, I should, let me find the whole scene because I just only saved one line. All right, so the whole scene, that this is before he decides to save her, and he feels like she's dying and there's nothing he can do. He basically he's thinking all of this, and he's like, I kind of want to read the whole thing, but it's too long.
Do it. How long is it?
It's not that long. Okay, so basically, yeah. So this is when she's dying, and he cannot picture a world without her. And so basically he starts off, this is his inner dialogue. He's like, you stayed by my side that agonizing night, even though I know I frightened you. And when those men were hunting me down and their voices came so chillingly close to us, all you had to do was call out and your nightmare would have been over. They would have taken me back to that prison. I might have been there still, but you didn't call out, and despite your fear, you didn't leave me. You saved me when you had every reason not to. You broke me, and in the process, I broke you. And now I fear the only way we will ever be whole again is together, all your jagged edges nestled against mine. I hate that I want that, but I do. I want to be whole with you. Yeah.
I love that. Where the heck is my famine?
And I lied. That's not when she's dying.
No? What?
Why do I think that was when she was dying? Oh, because it was his perspective. Anyways, that was, I stand corrected, that was 83% in.
83%. Is this where she asked him, am I going to die? And he said, no, not in my lifetime.
Oh, so she is dying here.
Yeah. Right? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. This is because that's also when she confesses that she loves him. Yeah. And he takes her to pee outside. Yeah.
I love that. And then later on, she like tells him like, you took me out to pee. I peed on your boots. Yeah. Like we're in this together.
But I just feel like that line for Famine was so important because he never let himself feel that with her. And he, in a way, felt like it was getting too late. He didn't know if she was going to make it, and he just couldn't live in a world without her. And I think it just speaks of his love for Anna. Like, he never saw the best in humanity. He never tried to. But he always saw the best in Anna. And his love wasn't a selfless love, He was very, very selfish about it. He just couldn't live without her. And her love changed him in a way now that he could recognize who he was and find himself through her. Like, he found who he wanted to be through his love for her, and it was a selfish love in the sense where he just didn't want to look at anything else. He didn't want to see the best of humanity. He never allowed himself to. And, yeah, I know all the horsemen, they were very much, like, selfish with their love, but I feel like him more so, whereas Pestilence and War learned to see the good in humanity, and their mission was done. Whereas he was like, I only see the good in Anna, and that's it.
So that's their purpose, right? Because I remember there's a thing that says that God gave him a choice. Let me see if I can find it. Of him choosing to see humanity, right? Or to be one with humanity.
All horsemen have the ability to, drop their purpose and choose to be mortal. But
okay. So there's a quote that says, "This was a choice forced upon war and pestilence. I hadn't understand it then, but when I slept deep within the ground, I hadn't understand it then. When I slept deep within the ground, but I understood it now. All of us brothers were given the choice to love as humans do, with all of the complications that entails. One of those complications being death." Pestilence gave up nothing in return for his love's life. So for Pestilence, they're immortal, right? Both of them?
No. So basically, you find out, I think, in War, and also in this book too, it just further, confirms it. Pestilence gave up his immortality to be with Sarah. So he's human now.
No, it says, Pestilence gave up nothing in return for his love's life. War had to give up his purpose, his power, and immortality stripped from him. I expect death would outright refuse me. So War gave up his immortality.
Yeah,
Pestilence
but
didn't give up anything.
in exchange for her life, because she was dying. Whereas Pestilence, Sarah wasn't dying. He chose to give it up to be with her.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense now.
But yeah, no, as you're talking about his mortality, his decision to become mortal, I thought it was interesting in this case because, like I said, he's never learned to fall in love with humans or, learn to appreciate humanity.
Mm-hmm.
He says early on in the book, he actually wants to go back to his true form, and that being, this heavenly thing,
Mm-hmm.
it's something that is not human. He doesn't have a human form, and he very much so wants to become that again. And that kind of shifts when he falls in love with Anna, and he doesn't want to leave Anna, but he really struggles with the idea of becoming the one thing he hates most in the world, and that's a human.
Mm-hmm.
And a little scene that I have, this is him on their porch after she's healed, and they find their own place and they decide to live without him killing. He says, but mortality would mean living in this body that I have long despised, a body I've only recently been reconsidering, and it would mean giving up my powers. How did you read that line? As Famine, he's found his happiness with Anna, but he still has to be the one thing that he hates.
I mean, I thought that was nice of him, not nice of him, but he was willing to give up what he wanted, which was to be that being just for Anna. That just goes to show how much he really did care and love her. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I also feel like he makes it important to say that becoming human would mean giving up his powers. And I feel like he relied so much on his powers because of what happened to him. And because, it's just he enjoyed killing humans because of what happened. And it doesn't change. At the end of the day, he sticks to his guns and says, no, humanity is awful and they deserve to die, but I want Anna and only Anna. And he honestly just cannot imagine being human, but he will do it for her. And I just feel like, you know what, Famine? He's got all the rights.
He really does. He does.
Yeah.
I love the fact that he also said that he wanted to watch her grow old. He didn't care.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. and that made me think of, for some reason, that scene in Twilight where Edward's young and then Bella's old and they're looking in the mirror.
No, and I loved that scene, and Anna's wait, you would do that for me? You would want to live my lifetime with me? And he's of course. And then he's I'll just go back to killing afterwards. But then he realizes he can't do that because then they would have children, then they would have grandchildren, and then he just realizes he doesn't want to miss out on that with Anna. So that's when he's I want to be immortal so I can experience that with her. And I just I couldn't handle it. I loved it. But I will say, I also really liked that he didn't really find peace like his brothers. They were as I've already said this numerous times, but they honestly loved humans. And they grew to love them. And they wanted to be humans. He's nah, I don't want it. He didn't want to, but he did. I also like that he did spare the few good ones. He spared the doctor and her family. Whereas Pestilence, do you remember that scene where he came across that elderly couple that fed them and talked about their love with them, and he still killed them?
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yes.
Why do you think Famine differs here? Why do you think he spared this family, whereas Pestilence, despite all the good he experienced, and he was changing at that point, he was very much starting to empathize and feel for these humans and fall in love with Sarah, but he still killed them anyway.
I think for him, it has to do with Anna. Right? And her goodness. Yeah. And how good and compassionate she was.
Yeah.
And just the fact that the nurse tried to help Anna.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think?
No, I think I don't know. I think at that point, Famine maybe had, like, chosen that maybe whatever Anna wants is best, because at that point, Anna was alive. And, like, he was, grateful to the humans for saving her, but also his focus shifts. He's more so like anything for Anna.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Pestilence hadn't reached that yet. You know, like, there wasn't, like, a moment where he's like, I might not have Sarah in my life. You know, like, that shift hasn't happened in his brain yet. Whereas, like, Famine was like, yeah, Anna, only Anna.
Yeah, I can see that.
I don't know.
What did you think about him running into War at the beach? Do you remember that?
Loved it. Yeah.
I wish there could have been, like, a little bit more dialogue, like, you know, him shared, like, their conversations and stuff. But I love the fact that he ended up seeing him and War told him, like, you need to leave. So he spared them and spared the town where they were in.
Yeah. Yeah.
One of the things that crossed my mind, like, do those four see and witness and hear what Famine is doing while they're all living their cutesy little life? Like, do you think that?
Yeah, they do. And spoiler, they're all in death.
Oh, they all come out in death. I was like, oh my god, what do you mean they're all in death? Do they die? No.
They make appearances in Death's book.
Okay. You scared me for like a second.
Sorry.
So, that's nice then that they come out in it.
Yeah. Mm. All right. I have one more point to bring up, and then we can move on to the monster. Do you have anything else?
I guess just kind of towards the end, just the fact that when Death awakens.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So
I can't believe we didn't talk about that scene.
Yeah, so he awakens. So Famine comes to this point where he wants to stop his mission and be stripped of his immortality, right? He wants to be with he wants to live and grow old with Anna. So this is when Death awakens and he finds him. He goes to where he's at and Death gives him two choices, right? He gives him two.
Yeah.
And just basically just the fact, and I'm thinking back on how everything played out with Pestilence and Sarah and Warren Miriam. He seemed like more forgiving and more open to giving them what they wanted.
Yeah.
And not Famine. And I want to know why. Like, I have a bone to pick with Death.
To be quite honest, I feel like it comes down to Famine being the less human-like. Like, he's the least human-like in terms of, like, Pestilence and War and Famine and Death. So Death really thought that, you know, the other two failed. It was expected. You know, they were the closest to humanity. War was basically created because of human desire. Pestilence, you know, he's directly connected to humans in terms of, like, their sickness. And Famine was connected to, like, the crops, the food, that stuff, but not directly to human life. So maybe he thought that you weren't supposed to fail, because why would you fail?
Yeah.
And maybe that's why he was more hard on Famine in that case. That's how I read it.
Yeah, I can see that. That makes sense.
And, like, Death is, like, sure, he's connected to life as well, but he also, I think, is in the same boat with Famine, where, like, he's kind of an outsider. He's not, like, I don't know how to describe it, but I feel like he thought Famine should not have failed, and he didn't expect Famine to quote-unquote fail.
Okay, that makes sense. But that's still a bit of an asshole move of him, just the way everything played out.
He literally killed Anna in front of Famine.
But
anyway, so what happens? Yeah, what were the two options that he gives Famine after he killed Anna?
The two options were where Famine can become human, but Anna has to go with Death, with Death.
Yeah, so sorry, this was before he killed Anna.
Before he killed Anna. So his choices, so let me go back. His choices was for Famine to become Death, but Anna has to go with Death. Yeah. Or Famine can continue his tasks alongside Anna and with Death. And he's gonna give, I guess, Anna the opportunity to be the last human to live after they finish their task, their mission. I don't know. It's just the fact that he gave him the ultimatum, the choices like that. It's either you're going to become human, but without Anna.
Yeah.
Or finish what you started and kill people while knowing Anna's going to be alive, but she's going to be able to witness that.
Yeah. And I love how he makes sure he notes that Anna would slowly break apart from it, witnessing it over and over again. He finally has that shift in his head where he's like, Anna will break if she keeps seeing people die.
Yeah.
But I also love that he comments that, like, the reason why I want to be human is to be with Anna. So if you take her away, I have no reason to be human.
Yeah.
And I think, question, do you think if Famine would have chosen to be human but then lose Anna, do you think, death would have allowed them to be together? Like, do you think it was a test? Because Death at that point knows he only wants to be human to be with Anna.
Mm-hmm.
So if he takes away the reason for him wanting to be human, and Famine still chooses to be human anyway, do you think he would have, passed the test?
No, I don't think so.
To win his mortality?
You like as in saying like he would have chosen that and for him to live out his life as a mortal?
Yeah, like, so for example, like, say if Famine was like, all right, fine, I choose to be mortal
without Anna,
because that's what Anna would have wanted or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then he like full well expects Anna will die, and then Death is like, okay, well then you chose to be human despite not having the one thing you wanted, so I'm gonna let her live.
Oh, do you think he would have spared Anna?
Do you think he would have? That's my question.
I don't know.
If he chose to be human despite not having his reason to be human.
Maybe, because I feel like everything that Death has done or things that have played out, it feels like it's all a game.
Yeah.
And a test. So I can definitely see that being a test.
Yeah, I could have seen that being a test too. And I feel like if Famine had chosen, yes, I'll be human because that's what Anna would have wanted or something, he would have passed it. But then Famine was not even, Death knew what he was doing when he was like, I know this boy is not going to choose to be human.
He does make a comment, right? Yeah, he does Death makes a comment about him becoming human.
Yeah.
If I take Thanatos' offer, she would survive, but if I drove my steed across the world and made Anna watch death after death, well, that's not without its own consequences. Da-da-da-da. I don't know. But I don't want either of those offers. And then Death says, so be it. And then he just like snaps his fingers and like her eyes roll and she just collapses. Like that was fucked up.
And then like, it was so dramatic. And like the way that Famine goes to hug her and he like feels the warmth leach out of her and he's like, oh my gosh, she's gone. Like my reason for being is gone. Like I love the desperation this gives me because like in the beginning of the story, like this is my favorite thing with enemies to lovers. It's like, we're like actual enemies to lovers. Where like, they try to kill them at the beginning and, like, do not care if they live or die and, like, just do not want them anywhere near them. But then, like, flash to the end of the story where he's like, I can't imagine my life without her. I need her.
Yeah. I love that, too.
I love, like, when when Famine decides to take Death's second offer of, like, like, riding the earth with Anna and him and, like, Death. She wakes up back, and then Anna literally takes Famine's dagger and like stabs Death in the heart, and like he's dead. And then Famine's like, "We gotta go. We gotta go now." Then.
No, I love that. She's such a fucking badass. What I was gonna say, the way the fight broke out between Famine and Death, like I saw that like playing like as a movie. I would love to see that way. I would love to see that play out on the screen.
Me too. I feel like this would be a fun like TV show.
Yeah.
Because like I feel like it appeals to everyone. It has action, it has the sex, it has like the brutality some shows have that are very successful. I don't know. I feel like it would be a fun thing and like come on, 4 hot guys.
Each season can be like each horseman, pestilence, and then war.
Exactly.
And then they all meet up together at the end, the last season. Yeah.
Yeah. I wish more people picked up romance books to
experience this. Yeah. I think this would be a great TV show for sure.
I think so too. And I feel like enemies to lovers, like you could never go wrong with it. No, especially like enemies to lovers where they try to kill themselves.
Yeah.
Kill each other, not themselves. Love it. The last thing that I wanted to mention before we get into the monster is the way Famine, I don't know, I feel like his power shifted within him as his feelings for Anna shifted. Mm-hmm. And like, so for example, in the beginning of the story, he's so filled with anger and hostility. Like I said, his powers reflected that. So he started creating plants that were ugly and covered with thorns, and like, it was just, you know, very, very like brutal plants. Mm-hmm. And then like as his feelings for Anna shifted, so did his power. So like he started to, like, he learned to use his power to, as I said, starve the infection from her body and make her, like, her own life force stronger. And he also just couldn't live without her. But also, he started to, once they decided to live together and just live in a city together amongst other humans, he started to grow plants as they were having sex that were just beautiful. Yeah. You know, like, they're flowers or, like, rainforests. Like, he started to find an inner peace with Anna that he has obviously never felt before. And I thought it was really interesting that his powers reflected that, like, as the story progressed.
No, yeah. No, yeah, I love that too. And just the fact that he grew flowers for her and, like, their house was like a jungle.
Legit a jungle. Yeah. Like, remove the roof.
Yes. He's so dramatic. I love him.
He's such a drama king, and I loved it. Yeah. And I felt like, yeah, Anna's got her hands full.
She really does. Can I ask, blink twice if they end up having kids?
Oh, I don't know.
No.
I don't know. Okay, I'm not gonna get into death, but one of my gripes were they did not get into it in terms of the other couples, and I was really sad.
Oh.
Yeah.
So, okay, you finished it. So is that it? Like, there's no possible novellas or no?
That's it. Yeah, that's it. So I don't know. I kind of wish I knew whether or not they do or not, but I don't know.
Oh, that's something I would have loved to see.
Me too, but I also feel like maybe she's just like, she's one of those people that don't really care for kids or like don't want her own children, and that's fine. Yeah. But yeah, I also love in this book, I didn't mention, he grew flowers, fruits, veggies, you know, he had like all the fruits there. And I thought it was interesting because he's Famine and he should be starving everyone. But he's like, no, here are some fresh fruits for everyone. Meaning Anna. And Anna decides to share with everyone else. Yeah. And he like becomes a plant dad. He literally takes care of his plants that he grows. Like, what the heck is this Famine?
I love him. He was such a good character, like...
Right? He's my favorite in this whole series.
Well, so far he's my favorite. I don't know how I'm going to feel about Death. We'll see.
Yeah. Death was... Yeah, I'm not going to get into it because we can't talk about it yet. But we will, listeners, we will talk about it.
Very soon.
Sometime soon.
Yeah.
All right.
Should we get into the monster? Or do you have something else to...
No, let's get into the monster. What do you think the monster of the story was?
I have one for a Famine, which I think his monster was just trust. And we already discussed it, you know, how he awoke and he was taken in by a family and he let his guard down. He was captured and tortured. And I feel like it took him a long time to trust and let his guard down, especially around Anna. Yeah. And I don't think he fully trusts humans, I guess, but... just as long as him having that trust with Anna, I feel like that's enough in my book. Like, he made a huge effort with her.
Yeah, he did. And, like, getting him to trust was like moving mountains. It was just, like, an uphill battle for Anna. And he, like, I don't know. I loved them. And like you said, they just, like, that was enough for me, you know? Them loving each other, them trusting each other. That was enough for him to, like, earn his mortality, but clearly Death didn't feel that way. Yeah. And obviously, like, the most obvious answer to this is humanity. That's a monster here for both Anna and Famine. Yeah. Their pain is caused by humans, and they carry the emotional scarring with them till this day. It's pretty bad, and I love how the author didn't try to move past that like in other books. like humans were awful, point blank. Humans are awful, and that is why, you know, the end of days is happening in this series. And I love that that didn't change. And I love that Famine also didn't have an epiphany where he's like, maybe they're not so bad, because he's only ever experienced their worst, and he sees their worst, like you said, every time they come and try to gift him something. And I also really, really, really appreciated that Anna never tried to change Famine, nor did she try to change his path. And he even mentions it. He fully says, "You never asked me to change," Famine finally admits, "or to be something I'm not. You never needed me to be human to accept me." And I think that's so important in terms of like where they started and how their pain developed and how their love changed what they felt. But like it never altered their own agenda in a way. Like she never tried to change who he was. She just wanted to like be loved by him, to belong with him.
Yeah. Oh, they're really perfect for each other.
I know. And then I had another one. It's like, it's not even a monster. Just I didn't know how to word it in a way that made it seem like a monster, but just like how you go about your pain, and like whether that be dealing with it or letting it fester. So for example, Famine let his pain fester and his hatred for humanity grew, like we talked about. And Anna, on her side of things, you know, she just had to pick herself up and move forward after family killed her whole town. She even experienced the worst of humanity from her blood, like we said, her aunt, her cousins. So how she dealt with it was basically by not dealing with it. She didn't let herself, like, she didn't open herself up to grieve and, like, feel that pain, which she held
just kept
on
looking
to.
forward.
And yeah, she did. But then she chose to finally, like, break down with Famine and, like, take a breath and grieve over, you know, the lost 17-year-old child she was when she first met Famine. And, like, she never obviously would get back to that because of everything that she's experienced. And yeah, I think the way that they tried to deal with their own trauma was a monster here in terms of like not allowing themselves to move forward.
Yeah. Oh, I agree.
Emotionally.
Yeah. Especially for Anna. And well, for Famine too, for both of them.
I know. I loved it. Okay, so clearly I think we can say out of the 3 that we've read, this one's our favorite.
Yeah, definitely. For sure.
What would you rank the other ones?
Like
not even the books, just like the male characters maybe.
I think I would go Famine, War, and then Pestilence. Yeah. What about you?
And then the female characters?
For the female, I think I would go Anna, probably Miriam, and then Sarah.
Yeah. I think I'm the same for both as well.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, like, the amount of hate War gets, I don't get it.
But does he get a lot of hate? I haven't seen any. I feel like for Famine, I saw a lot of either you loved it or you hated. Like there was no in between. From what I've seen for Famine,
I saw a majority of the people loving Famine, and I saw a lot of like reviews saying like War was not good, or like not that it wasn't good, but it just wasn't as good as Pestilence. You know, like it just people didn't like his character. They didn't like.
Could it be the fact how I mean, like thinking back, they were all horrible. Like they all did their fair share of killing. But I feel War might have been the most, because there was a scene, right, where he kills everybody, even like children.
Yeah, that's an important thing. And I think I forgot to mention it, but I feel like the difference for me in this one is that it felt a bit lighter because they didn't really mention family. Like, of course he killed children and he killed the elderly, but it was never really on page, whereas that was not the case for War and for Pestilence.
Yeah. And then for Pestilence, there was a moment where he just kind of, he kills everybody, right? Like in one like snap of a finger, and she's like, what the hell did you do?
Yeah.
But yeah, I can definitely see this one being a little bit more lighter than the other ones.
Yeah.
At least
and
with
to
War.
be honest, that's not saying much, but I mean, it was still lighter. Yeah, it was lighter. But I will say, I'm kind of peeved, but I feel like every time I read one of these books, I feel like it reflects our real life. So, like, yeah. We had, in this book, because it was something that I was seeing as I was reading it. So, in the grocery stores over here in Canada, we're very low on, like, food. like in terms of like fruits and like other food. Like I went to the grocery store this weekend and there was like nothing on the shelves. There were like no fruits, no potato chips. There was literally hardly anything. So I'm like, what the hell? Why is famine reflecting now in real life? Why are we like going through a food shortage? So for some reason, it just always reflects in real life.
It really does. It gets depressing.
Yeah. That's why I usually need like a few months in between. But like I said, the way this book ended, I needed to read the fourth book.
You dove right into death. There was a quote that I really love that Famine said. It's short, where he says, "One other inhuman thing about me, flower." Famine turns his head slightly towards me. "I don't simply exist, I hunger." And like that's just like that's him, right?
Yeah.
That just
then
explains.
Sorry,
like,
continue.
No, I just say like that's him. Like that just explains what famine is, or how he is.
No, and then like I love how she notes later on. She's like, he hungers, and he's hungering for me.
Yes.
It gave me the butterflies.
And he ate. He ate.
He did eat. And then I also had this one line that I forgot to mention. This one quote. We can end with this. He basically says, where is it? Oh yeah, here. This is, I want to be in you again, and I want another smile from you. Many of them. Your smiles make me feel more like my true self.
Oh, I love him. He's so romantic. I feel like he had a lot of great lines.
He had such great lines that I feel like I don't remember having such noteworthy lines for the other guys, which I'm not knocking on them. I loved War, and I really enjoyed Pestilence, but just something about Famine just got to me. I don't know what it was. I think, I just love him.
Yeah, and I feel like also just the fact that he kind of humored Anna. Like, you know, she had this little thing where she's like, "Calm your tits." And then he used that against her, like later on in the book. I don't know.
And I love when she's like, "Stop speaking like me."
Oh, God. I love them. It. Great book, you guys. You can tell we really loved it.
Yeah, clearly. For like over an hour talking.
This has been our discussion of Famine by Laura Thalassa on Romancing the Monsters. I hope you enjoyed our discussion. You can find us online at Romancing the Monsters Podcast on IG. You can find us at the RTM Pod on Twitter. You can also find us on Romancing the Monsters Pod on TikTok. And you can also send us an email at romancingthemonsterspodcast@gmail.com. And you can find me at ButThisBook on Twitter and on Instagram.
And you can find me, Seff, on both Instagram and Twitter at Pros with Woes. And also, please, if you feel the need or would like to leave a review or rating on either Spotify, you can't leave a rating on Spotify, but you can leave a review on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts. And Apple Podcasts, you can leave a rating as well. Please feel free to do so. It would mean a lot to us. And also, if you feel like we've earned your subscription on any of the podcast platforms or even a follow on social media, please do it. I sound like I'm begging. But I am.
Join us, you guys. And that's it for this week.
Bye.
Bye.